Welcome to the Midgard Press. My name is Jay. So we're back again with the final part of the Bestiary. Last episode we covered the last monster we covered was the giant spider. Now we're on to goblins. Now, as I've mentioned before, not everything that the players face within Dragonbane is considered a monster. Okay, again, monsters auto hit. That is a fact. We've gone through multiple monsters already within the Bestiary, and they auto hit. You just have to roll, see what attack they do. And I don't know if I had touched on it. I can't remember now at this point, but if you roll a 3 at this point, and then if you have a monster that has a ferocity of 2 or 3 or something like that, and they go multiple times in a round, and you roll another 3, you can't do the same attack again. It automatically goes to the next number, which means 4. Okay, so don't forget that. If you are rolling your attacks to see what it is that the monster does, you cannot do the same one over and over and over again. It has to go to the next one. Just to be fair, give your players a little flair. Anyways, we're going to move on to the goblin. Now, the goblin is an NPC type of character, so they do not auto hit. You have to roll to see if they hit. But it says goblins are children of the night and shadows. They are relatively small and skinny, but have disproportionately long arms and big, bulbous heads. They primarily make their living hunting, growing mushrooms, and trading with other creatures, mainly orcs and humans, but they are also warlike. Aggressive clans specialize in looting and piracy. Many thieves' guilds also have a large goblin membership. They are cunning creatures who often resort to traps, ambushes, poisons when attacking their victims. For this reason, there are many who despise the goblins and see them as devious, dishonorable cowards. So, down here, I want to make mention of this. It says, non-monster. Goblins do not count as monsters in combat, but as ordinary NPCs. Just like I said, you have to roll to see if they hit. They are nocturnal. In direct sunlight, goblins get a bane on the roll or on all rolls and suffer a d6 damage per stretch. A thick layer of clouds or full cover clothing are enough to avoid the effect. And looking at this goblin right here, definitely looks like that's full cover. I mean, got an open helm, got full suit, got fur on the back. Yeah, I'd say that's full cover. But we have two different types of goblins here. We've got a scout and we've got a warrior. So the scout has 12 movement, damage bonuses, agility plus d4. Typical armor is a leather, which gives them an armor rating of 1. HP is 9. Skills, we got an awareness 10, evade 10, and sneaking is 12. Now all the other with NPCs, the default skill level is 5. So the awareness is 10, evade is 10, sneaking is 12. All the other skill levels are going to be based at 5. Typical weapons, a short bow and a short sword. It gives you their skill level and their damage. So that's everything you need to pop out a goblin at any point, a goblin scout. A goblin warrior, they have a movement of 10. They have typical armor of studded leather, which is 2. It gives them an armor rating of 2. HP is 10. Skills, pretty much the same. Awareness 10, evade 10, sneaking 12. But typical weapon is a long spear. Skill level 12, damage 2d8. Now with a long spear, because it has the long in front of it, it can attack from 4 meters. Not 2, not like an adjacent square, from 2 squares over. So remember that when you're running some goblins, because there are multiple adventures within the adventure book that have goblins in them. And I love goblins. Goblins are just the best. But let's move on. We have the Griffin. The Griffin is an aggressive predator specializing in hunting down prey in the forest of the world. Its hunting grounds extend mainly tens of kilometers from the tall tree or inaccessible cliff where the beast has its nest. Griffins normally live in pairs, and a handful of chicks are often found in their nests, along with a plethora of items. Rusted junk mixed with treasures and artifacts left by unfortunate victims. There are tales of knights who have managed to tame griffins and use them as winged mounts. However, it is an irrefutable fact that griffins like to feed on horses and donkeys, which often get them into trouble with knights, adventurers, and other riders. Now, I don't know about you, but that sounds like I mean, just that little description right there, that sounds like a fantastic little one shot where, you know, your players are going through the forest or going just down the country road, whatever you want to call it, and a griffin attacks, takes a donkey or a horse. The players want to get revenge, obviously, so they go hunt down the griffin. Turns out that there's a whole griffin nest. There's 2 griffins and then a bunch of chicks. Like, the amount of treasure that they could get from that, believe me, your players will want to do this. Trust me. They might get torn to shreds in the process, but they'll want to do this, I promise. Beer's not wanting to act right today. Anyways, they have a ferocity of 2. Their size is large. Movement is 30. Armor, none. HP is 38. It says their wings, the powerful wings of the griffin allow it to move freely through the air. So not only is it a land monster, that can just flat out attack them while they're on land, but this is a winged monster. They can fly. So make sure to include that in combat. Make sure they take off and whatnot, because you gotta give it a little spice. Make one whole round where they can't hit it unless they have ranged weapons. So let's read off a couple of these. We've got the snapping beak, number 1 for the D6. The beast tears at a player character with its razor sharp beak for 2d8 piercing damage. Okay. Number 2 of the D6, rearing strike. The griffin rears up before a player character and to tear them apart with a D6 rapid strikes. Hold up. A D6 rapid strikes? It could potentially hit them 6 times, and each attack inflicts D8 damage. The attack can be dodged or parried, but only one at a time. Holy cow. What? Oh, that is the most damage that any of the monsters so far can do at one time that I've seen. Potentially 6 rapid strikes, each of them potentially doing 8 points of slashing. That's potentially 48 points of damage. Now, I don't know about you, but do you remember the death part of combat? Does anybody remember instant death? If not, you might want to go back, check that video again, because that could be instant death. Anyways, sweeping claws, 3 of the D6. The griffin sweeps its claws for in a wide arc, attacking all player characters within 2 meters. Each victim suffers D8 damage and is knocked prone. Okay, I like that. I like that. Wow, griffins are nasty. I love them. Harpies. Harpies are large, raven-like birds of prey with humanoid faces and mouths full of serrated fangs, or serrated fangs. They often seek out places like ruins and abandoned settlements where they live in colonies of different sizes. Harpies are plagued by insatiable hunger and like to supplement their daily diet with careless adventurers who stumble into their nest. They are cowardly but calculating hunters who always attack in flocks, preferably with a massive numerical advantage. The assaults often begin with the harpies trying to soften up their victims with threats, cackles, and screeching insults, while slowly circling closer and closer with extended claws and drilling jaws. Now, to me, it sounds like the harpies can speak the common language, and that's how I intend. To play them, to be honest. So, ferocity is 1 per harpy. Size is a swarm. Movement 24. Armor none. HP 12 per harpy. So the way I see it, there should be 1 harpy per player character. That's the way I see it. Flock. Harpies never fight alone, but always in flocks, which is why a flock of harpies counts as a single monster. The flock's ferocity equals the number of individual harpies. However, each individual has a separate HP, and the ferocity decreases with the number of harpies. Wings. Harpies attack from the air and can only be engaged with ranged weapons or long melee weapons, which, your long spear, your lance, so on and so forth. Cowardly. Harpies are cowardly creatures and never fight to the death. Once half the flock has been killed, the rest will flee. They return later if an opportune situation presents itself. In reading the description of the harpies, I've actually created a little one-shot called The Abandoned Bell Tower. And I'm not going to go too far into it, but it's basically a nesting ground for harpies. So, D6, number 1, threatening cackle. The harpies shower the adventurers with terrible descriptions of what they will do to them. Everyone within 10 meters must make a willpower roll to resist fear. 2 of the D6, coordinated attack. The harpies flock together and attack the player characters who wear the most metal, because they like shining things, of course. The attack inflicts 2d6 damage. If hit, the victim is also lifted in the air and dropped from a height of d3 plus 3 meters. Now, fall damage is a big thing in this game, and it negates armor. So, make sure to read up on your fall damage if you're running harpies. That's all I'm saying. You will come in handy. Number 3 of the D6, death from above. The harpies throw rocks and other junk from afar. Everyone within 10 meters suffers D6 bludgeoning damage. Fantastic. Manticore. Now, these manticores are pretty freaking nasty. I mean, just look at this ugly beast. The peculiar manticore is a bloodthirsty beast that spreads death and terror wherever it goes. Their origin is unknown, but some scholars believe them to be magical creatures that escaped from their dubious master or creator. Others view them as ancient hunger beasts, ruthless remnants from the dawn of time. Roused from their slumber by the gods themselves, they have human-like faces, but seem incapable of human speech. Probably because their maws are packed with sharp fangs. They have the body of a lion, and their tail ends in a swollen lump covered in spikes and nasty growth. Yeah, that's pretty nasty. That's pretty messed up. Sounds like fun. So they have a ferocity of 2, size is large, movement is 16, armor is none, but HP is 44. So, 1 of the D6. Hail Strike. The Manticore aims a dreadful ranged attack with its tailed spikes at a player character within 20 meters. The attack inflicts D12 piercing damage and injects the victim with a paralyzing poison with potency 12. Now, go back and look at the poison as well. That's also in the combat and damage section. The attack can be parried with a shield. So not only can this attack be parried, but it tells you specifically it has to be with a shield. 2 of the D6. Razor Sharp Bite. The Manticore bites a player character with its many fangs, inflicting 3d8 slashing damage. 3 of the D6. Claw Attack. The beast runs up to the player character, knocks them down, and tears at them with its sharp claws. The attack inflicts 2d8 slashing damage plus d6 since its victim is prone. Yes, if a player character is prone, and this includes any monster or NPC, there is extra damage applied for that situation. Let's move on. The Minotaur. Look at this beast. It's got, okay, check this art out. I'm sorry, but just check this art out. It's got one eye. It's got an eye patch. It's got armor on its horns. The weapon it's wielding is as big as the player character it's fighting. This is a huge battle axe. It's got what looks like a keg on the backside, multiple skulls. It's got a bag with body parts coming out. So it's got a person stuffed in the bag. It's fantastic. So, the Minotaur. Minotaurs are semi-intelligent and powerful beasts endowed by the gods with a bull's head and a humanoid body. They are fearsome in battle, and bards sing songs on their incredible strength and inexhaustible fighting spirit. But Minotaurs are also notorious for their inner rage, which constantly threatens to break through and turn them into senseless killers. For this reason, they tend to live in solitude and exile, relentlessly roaming the world in search of food, gold, and glory. Sometimes they claim a small area as their own, often near a mountainous pass, a ford, or a similar choke point, demanding road tolls and challenging passing travelers to duels. So they have ferocity of 2, size is large, movement is 16, armor is none, HP is 32, and the typical gear is a 2-handed axe. So of the D6, number 1, Bull Fist. A furry fist hits a player character with full force. The attack inflicts 2d6 bludgeoning damage and leaves the victim dazed, even if their armor prevents any damage. 2. So going back to 1. So even if their armor stops all the damage, they still become dazed. 2. Hoof kick. Using its powerful legs, the Minotaur kicks the victim with its hooves. The force of the attack throws the victim 2d6 meters away and inflicts the same amount of bludgeoning damage. The victim lands prone. 3. Horn rush. The Minotaur lowers its head, rushes towards the 2 adventurers within 2 meters of each other, hoping to impale them with its sharp horns. Both victims suffer 2d8 piercing damage and are knocked down. What? Oh my gosh. All right. The orc. Orcs are strong humanoids who live in well-organized clan societies. Some are settled, digging vast tunnel systems deep beneath the woods and mountains. Others wander the vast steeps of the world as nomads. Now, that, I swear, is a shout out to Tolkien right there, because that's what orcs do in the Tolkien universe. They dig tunnels deep beneath the woods and the mountains. Like, that is, that's so on point. Orcs have a Formidable appearance, glowing black eyes, fangs the size of a wild beast tusk, with hard, vaguely camouflage patterned skin. That's terrifying. They are fierce warriors, widely respected for their undeniable bravery and weapon proficiency, both in melee and at range. But orcs are extremely honor-oriented and have an unfortunate tendency to cause territorial disputes and never-ending blood feuds with dwarves, giants, and other kin. So we've got three right here. We've got a warrior, a shaman, and a chieftain. Movement is 10 for the warrior. Damage bonus is a strength plus d4. Typical armor, studded leather, 2 armor rating, 12 HP. Skills, awareness 10, evade 8. Typical weapon, scimitar, skill level 12, and damage 2d6. Now, the shaman. This is a spellcaster. So we have movement 10, damage bonus none, armor none, HP 10, willpower 16. Skills, animism 14, awareness 12, evade 8. So when you're using a shaman, you need to roll 14 or under for the spells to successfully hit. Ensnaring roots, lightning flash, and treat wounds. And then a typical weapon is a staff, skill level 10, damage is a d8. Chieftain, movement is 10, damage bonus, strength plus d6. Typical armor is chainmail, so armor rating of 4. HP is 24, willpower is 15, skills, awareness 14, and evade is 12. So it has some abilities. We've got veteran, defensive, dual weapons, robust times 4, and that's kind of where it gets a lot of its HP, is the robust times 4. Typical weapons, 2 scimitars, skill level 16, damage 2d6. So these guys can hit. And they're just like the goblins, where they are non-monsters, so they act as ordinary NPCs, and they're nocturnal. So in direct sunlight, orcs get a bane on all rolls and suffer d6 per stretch. A thick layer of clouds and full cover clothing are enough to avoid the effect. Cool. Good to know. Skeletons. And skeletons. I love skeletons too. Skeletons are just great. They're always great in any fantasy setting, and they should be in every fantasy setting. So skeletons are the remains of humanoids who have been raised from the dead through powerful magic. They are lesser undead and lack both will and true consciousness. They are primarily used for simple tasks, for instance, as guards, foot soldiers, or servants. Powerful sorcerers are also known to use skeletons to dig tunnels, move soil and heavy rocks, and perform other tasks related to construction work. They have difficulty understanding complex instructions, but are cheap and labor without complaint. Yeah, they don't really talk much, do they? As long as they are not stopped by meddlesome adventurers. So, they are non-monsters, so they count as ordinary NPCs. They have resistance to all piercing damage. It's halved, rounded up, and they have immunity to fear and persuasion, so you cannot try and reason with them. We have the warrior, the archer, and the champion. We have movement for the warrior. Movement is 8, damage bonus none. Typical armor, studded leather, armor rating of 2, HP is 8. Skills, awareness 8, evade is 6. Typical weapons, short sword, skill level 12, damage d10. Archer. It's pretty much the same thing. We got movement 8, no damage bonus. Typical armor is leather of 1, so armor rating of 1. HP is 8. Awareness 8, evade is 6. Their typical weapons is a dagger and skill level 10, d8, crossbow, skill level 12, 2d6. And the champion. Champion! We are the champions of Dragonbane. So champion. Movement 10, damage bonus, strength plus a d6, Typical armor is a chainmail, so armor rating of 4. HP is 24, willpower is 15. Skills, awareness 12, evade 8. Abilities, veteran, defensive, double slash, robust times 4. Seems very oddly reminiscent of the orc. Typical weapon is a longsword, skill level 16, damage 2d8 with a large shield. Okay. We have the troll. Trolls. Stories of cruel, black-hearted trolls are told amongst most people of the world to keep the children in line. And they are terrifying beasts, as large as massive moving boulders, with great tusks and staring eyes that glow as sickly yellow. Their reputation is somewhat unfair. It is true that they are often in a terrible mood and exceedingly dangerous to encounter, but the reasons of this are usually their endless hunger and signals that they get from hostile world around them. Drawn weapons and sudden movements trigger their terrible, all-consuming wrath, but the trolls who are offered food and met with kindness are surprisingly agreeable. Okay. So they have a ferocity of 2, size is large, movement is 10, armor is 0, HP is 38. Regeneration. A troll automatically heals d6 HP of each of its turns in combat. Sensitive to sunlight. Trolls suffer d6 damage per round in direct sunlight and cannot regenerate. A troll that reaches 0 HP because of this is turned to stone. A thick layer of clouds of full cover clothing are enough to avoid the effect. Persuadable. Unlike other monsters, trolls can usually be persuaded. I bet with a bane on the roll, so you have to roll at disadvantage, of course. D6 of the attacks. Number 1, troll vomit. The troll clears its throat and with a thunderous rumble coughs from deep in its lungs and vomits up a cascade of bile and stinking swamp water. All adventurers within 6 meters suffer a condition of their choice. I love it. Number 2, rending attack. The troll tears at a player character's body with its filthy green-black claws. The attack inflicts d10 slashing damage but can be parried. A victim who takes damage also contracts a disease. Oh my gosh. Yeah, go look up diseases as well. And then that's going to be in the combat and damage. 3, repulsive bite. The troll opens its foul-smelling mouth and bites a player character with a denture fangs, gravel, and old bone fragments. Yeah, they're not too worried about their dental hygiene. The attack inflicts 2d8 piercing damage. The player character is stuck in the troll's mouth and must make a strength roll, counts as an action, every round to break free. On failure, the victim suffers an additional 2d8 damage. Holy cow. Oh my gosh. A wight. Wights are undead spirits of princes, princesses, and great warriors. They are powerful beings that have a will of their own. Unlike creatures such as the skeletons, however, this will is linked to a torn consciousness where hatred of the living is a dominant feature. Wights differ from ghosts in that they are corporeal, often wearing ancient armor and wielding mighty weapons and artifacts they took with them to the graves. Luckily, they are often bound to certain places such as burial mounds where they were entombed. So ferocity of 2, size is normal, movement is 10, armor same as armor. Huh? Armor, same as armor. That doesn't make sense. I would give these guys an armor rating of 4 because the typical gear it says right here is chainmail. So I would give them an armor rating of 4. That must be a typo. In the final book, nonetheless, HP is 38. So they have resistance, takes half damage from non-magical weapons except fire, inflicts normal damage. Typical gear is a Morning Star and Chainmail. So, D6 attacks. 1, we have Unholy Roar. The white's decomposed skull contorts and lets out a ghastly scream that cuts like a rusty blade through the character's soul. Everyone within 10 meters suffers a fear attack. 2, Dreadful Gaze. An unlucky player character stares directly into the white's horrible eyes as a wheezing sound is heard from the character's throat. The victim becomes scared, suffers a fear attack, and gets a bane on the willpower roll. 3, Hand of the Dead. The white raises its hand and gestures at a player character within 10 meters who is drawn 2d4 meters away and lands prone. The attack inflicts the same amount of damage that cannot be dodged. It's basically like it's a telepathic or not telepathic, telepathy. Yeah, it's where like they move them, whatnot. Vampiric bats. And if you've played the Rittermound module, the adventure, you know vampiric bats well, I promise. There are countless species of bats in the world of Dragonbane. Some are small and virtually harmless. Others are as big as winged goblins and can bite the head off a grown human with a single snap of the jaw. I mean, goblin-sized bats with wings. Ugh. The feared vampiric bat falls somewhere in between. They have wingspans of 1 meter and a strong appetite for human blood. Vampire bats always, I think it's just a humanoid blood because I'm sure it'll eat orcs, goblins, mallards, wolfkin, dwarves, elves, halflings just as normal as well. Vampire bats often hunt in flocks and are often found in underground burial chambers, Rittermound, where they feed on grave robbers and other adventurers. So monster attacks. It's still a D6, but there's only 3 attacks. The first 2, 1 and 2, is a swirling horror. The bats swarm their victims at a frantic pace. Everyone within 10 meters suffers a fear attack. On a 3 to 4 of the D6, collective attack. The bats launch a joint assault on the player character with the highest con. The attack inflicts 2d6 damage, and the victim suffers a fear attack. So it deals damage and emotional damage. And the bat swarm heals the same amount of HP, drinking from the victim's blood. I like that one. I really like that one. 5 and 6 of the D6. Mass attack. The bats split up and attack all player characters within 10 meters. Each victim suffers a D8 damage, and the bat swarm heals the same amount of HP from drinking the victim's blood. So they have a ferocity of 2, their size is swarm, movement is 24, armor is none, but HP is 18. The resistance. The bats attack as a swarm and therefore count as a single creature. All damage from physical weapons, even magical ones, are reduced by half, rounded up. Fire has normal effect. Yeah. Bats are a lot of fun. Vampiric bats, nonetheless. And then at the bottom of page 99, we have common animals. So these are just common animals that you can encounter in the world. A cat, movement of 12, HP of 4, bite, skill level 8, damage of D3, skills, awareness 12, evade 14, sneaking 16, so on and so forth. If you have somebody who takes the companion feature or heroic ability, you'll reference the common animals a lot. But yeah, this was the end of Bestiary. I'm actually going to go ahead and continue the Bestiary. What we're going to do is we're going to go back through the monsters And we're going to create scenarios for you as a GM, what you could do with these monsters. So we're going to go whoa, where am I going? There we go, right way. We're going to go all the way back to the demon. And we're going to create scenarios for you. That's going to be the next episode. We're going to break each monster down in more depth, give you items that you could do with it, and what are things you should not do with them. So, go back. You can pause to read any of these, and hopefully you'll have as much fun as I am running these monsters. Granted, some of them aren't all monsters. There's a couple NPCs in here: orcs, goblins, skeletons, so on and so forth. So I need y'all to do the thing. Like this video. Comment which of these monsters seems a lot of fun. Which of these monsters do you think that you will have the most fun with? Which one do you think you won't use at all? I'm curious. But share this video. Share this video with other people who might enjoy Dragonbane. Share it with people who are looking for other TTRPGs to play. But until next time, my friends, I want you to live on and game on.